All right, and welcome to Hattrick Sports Talk, our second episode of the week. Both will probably release around the same time, so you guys will get double the content this week to sub for the last few weeks we've been out and the coming week as well. As
Woot.
always, I'm here with Shane and Brandon. How are you all doing?
Woo.
Pretty good.
Good
Yeah,
stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's another day, another 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what a day is.
I couldn't think of anything clever to say. I'm sorry.
Any other time stipulations before we start?
I don't know.
How many minutes are in a day? 24 times 60, whatever that is. Anyways.
No clue. I'm not going to do the calculation right now. All right, and let's get started. Speaking of time, it is the Milwaukee Bucks time as they won their second championship in franchise history. The last one was 50 years ago in 1971 with Oscar Robinson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the gang. Now it's Giannis, Chris Middleton and the gang. So let's first start with this, Shane. Because I in watching this series and a few hours after game 6, I thought about this. So one comment that you made is like, this is probably the best finals we could have gotten. But also another thing came to mind watching the last 4 games of this series as well, which is that this wasn't really a 3-point based series that we've had the last few years. These were two teams that were very willing to go into the paint. Phoenix had, some 3-point shooting, of course, with Cam Johnson, campaign, and of course Devin Booker. But this is really a series kind of dominated by mid-range shots, but mostly in the paint getting fouls. And I thought that was interesting. It's a much different series in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, especially, like nothing like, Golden State, because that was their big thing for all that time. And, I think the reason that is because Milwaukee is obviously not a 3-point shooting team like whatsoever. Their best 3-point guy is Chris Middleton, and I mean he's not even that great half the time.
You're saying that Giannis isn't a 3-point shooter?
Forget that. He ain't even a free throw shooter.
Like,
except game 6. Except game 6.
Yeah, like
He, I will say this about Giannis: his free throw shooting got better and better throughout the playoffs, to the point where he was like in the finals. Game 6 obviously was incredible, but like even leading up to that, he was pretty consistent for the most part with the free throws. But regardless, that's just not the kind of team Milwaukee is. I think that's kind of goes without saying. And so, as a result, they were the better team in the series, and so they kind of dictated what the games were like, at least 3 through 6. But still, and so, yeah, they definitely, it was a very physical series. A lot of guys getting thrown around and shoved over and whatever, which, it's kind of refreshing to see that, in a, not that I necessarily want that to be how the league is.
I as y'all know, I loved the finals, especially games 3 through 6. Just like,
yeah,
it. First of all, I'd just like to say, I feel like I was the only one out of the 3 of us who was behind my boys, the Bucks, this whole go through. I was getting some real Suns bias over here.
A little bit
from the Solosi side of the show. And I'll just say this.
I was neutral.
Yeah, you were pretty neutral. I feel like Robert.
I switched. So I switched.
Right,
I was kind of like the rest of the media, where it's like I felt after the first 2, and that's the thing with the media. Like, I think especially this year as a whole, the entire season, we kind of had to be a lot more recency biased based than I think we would have liked.
So,
and that's just because of like how weird the year was.
Something that I also want to bring up is I know throughout the series, I think when we talked, Robert, before I went on I think the last time I actually did the show,
Yeah.
I brought up I may have talked about this on the show, but I know we talked about it off the show. But the whole idea of the Suns, if they won, whether the fact that they had an easy path to the finals, whether it would have made it like an asterisk. And as I've said, I don't believe NBA finals should be asterisk sized. But I do believe an aspect of that conversation does have some relevancy here with how the finals went down, because I think in a way the Suns were not prepared for playing a fully healthy squad through 6. They were used to playing just being able to trample over a team, and that's kind of what they were able to do in the first 2 games with Giannis coming back from his injury, and then you had boom, 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 4 games done, and an aspect of that was them getting healthy again, but also I think it's the fact that the NBA is really a sport of momentum. And if you can keep getting big plays to get that momentum going, you're gonna probably win. And like one aspect of that I bring up is the fact that I believe Game 3 and Game 4, Milwaukee had back-to-back big plays, or it might have been 4 and 5. Was it Game 4?
Oh, Giannis blocks.
Because Giannis had his block in Game 4.
And then same in Game 5, which is very similar.
Well, wasn't the steal in Game 5 the strip? The strip and
he also had a block. He also had a block early in that game too, I believe, if I'm not mixing him up.
I think my point was I honestly, going into Game 6, I knew the Bucks were going to win.
We knew it was over. We all knew it was over.
The Suns just looked defeated, like really defeated.
Particularly,
I do want to get your guys' opinion. And do you think CP3 sticks around?
So let's think about this. Let's think about this contractually first. This is the important thing to remember. I'll let Shane go after I mention the contractual obligation. So he's due to make, let's call it what it is and say 47 million. He's due to make 47 million this year. If he goes anywhere else, I believe I believe it's now over 36, or I think might be over 37 now, because CP3 kind of lobbied for the league to change it under the CBA rules of so I believe the former rule was if you're over 38, you cannot make over a certain number. And I think unless you're with your current team. So theoretically speaking, I don't think he can make 20 to 30 plus million if he goes somewhere else. And I think he's only allowed to sign a 3-year deal if he goes somewhere else. So the logical thing for him to do contractually is to not take the option and re-sign with Phoenix, because it would give him more longevity to do so, regardless of the 46 or whatever, 40, let's just say 47 million, because I think it's 46-35 next year, something like that. So that's something to keep in mind. Go ahead, Shane, before I sort of give my take on if he should leave or stay. But keep in mind those contract stipulations as well. If I hope I'm getting those correct, but at least that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I agree with you, from the money standpoint. But the thing is, I don't get the impression that is his primary concern at this point. I think he's looking at his career now and thinking, I want a ring, and wherever it is that I need to be to get that, I'll do it, whatever. And I think with Phoenix, I mean, we just considering how good the West is, and I mean, regardless of the West, just looking at the East, you got Milwaukee. They'll be back and strong. Brooklyn will presumably be healthy.
We'll get to both of those teams in
Temporarily.
the futures here.
Philly could still be really good. Who knows? And so I think if Phoenix really wants to compete with that, because I agree with Brannan that I don't feel like Phoenix was truly the best team in the West this year. If everybody was healthy, I think Utah, Clippers, and possibly Denver would have all beat Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the Lakers probably.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't count out the power that AD brings,
Right.
When healthy, of course.
When healthy, yeah.
And when playing.
Right. And yeah. And here's my thing. I agree with you, Shane. I think I might have cut you off, but if I am right about where you were going with this, you basically believe he's going to leave and go to another team.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think he's going to embrace his role as the villain in the NBA. He's going to say, I don't really care what you think. I'm going to go to a team. I'm going to get myself a ring. Yeah, most people already apparently in the media, most people have heard, a lot of media members have talked about how they've heard from other players who have played with him that he's kind of an ass. On their and
yeah,
Robert,
I've heard he's arrogant.
I've heard, listening to a lot of national radio. They've talked about how this whole narrative that he's this good guy is actually just a bunch of crock.
I mean, the whole thing with him is he just expects a lot out of his team. He expects to win, which is why Devin talked about this. Devin and DeAndre Ayton, both talked about this and said that was the best thing in my career because it just kind of told him to put up or shut up.
Right, which is fine, but honestly, if you're like that, embrace the villain and go to another team. Go to the Lakers, win yourself a ring, because the fact is, you're not going to with the Suns. I'm sorry, Suns fans. If there's any Suns fans listening, you're not gonna win one anytime soon. And the fact is, frankly, I think it's more likely that Devin Booker at the end of his contract goes, sorry, I stuck around for this long. I got that close. I need a ring.
I think Book at this point is what? He signed that extension. What was that? 2 years ago now? Something like that. 2-3 years ago now. He's I think maybe on the third or fourth year of that extension. So maybe after this contract, I think he stays for the rest of the extension. But I'll say this: if I'm Chris Paul, regardless of the over 36 role or whatever, if I'm him, I'm taking the option and coming back.
Really? And why's that?
I run it back. Because
you really think they're gonna be able to make it? Because I
don't think they'll be able to make it, but I have a hard time believing. No, here's the thing. I think if you were to rank the teams in the West, because you have to keep in mind the Warriors are going to be back. They're looking at Lillard now. Right now, they're looking at getting Lillard too. They were in talks with Ben Simmons, but apparently the Sixers want another All-Star player. That ain't going to happen. But they're in the running for another star because keep in mind they have they have this coming up in this draft on Thursday. They have the 7th pick, the 14th pick, and Wiggins' contract. So they have room for one more superstar. That theoretically could be Lillard. Again, rumors, we're not certain about that, but I'm telling you that right now, if you're the Warriors, you're looking at this and saying this is the perfect opportunity for us to package 2 picks, maybe Wiseman, even though I think they should keep him. 2 picks, maybe Wiseman, definitely Wiggins' deal because that runs the money forward or connects the money together, and then get a Lillard or something. Not Simmons.
I definitely think the Warriors this year are going to be they're gonna make a run for it, because I think if you're the Warriors, you got to be looking at Steph Curry and going, how many more prime years does he have?
Is Clay past his prime now too because of the injuries?
I would make an argument that yes, Clay is past his prime. I'm not going to say definitively until I see him play, because I've been burned too many times with NBA players by saying, oh, they're coming off an injury, they're old, they're later in their career, they're washed, and then they've had dominant seasons.
He's still probably good.
Yeah. The difference is he's come off. The difference with him compared to like KD, who had the Achilles, is that he's coming off one injury and then another one back to back.
Yeah, he's coming off back to back, which really, honestly, I don't know. Like, I give props to him for even attempting to come back, because I don't know if I had back-to-back injuries like that, if I would even be like, I'm like, look, I already got 2 rings. I'm out.
Yeah.
3.
3, yeah, 3.
4.
No, 3.
It's 3.
I think it's 3, yeah.
I don't know. And, like...
So, the Warriors, the Lakers are the favorite.
One last thing I'll say about the Suns. Another reason I don't think... Another concern I have for the Suns is the Suns don't have the it factor. And you might be wondering, what is the it factor, Brandon? It's not a person. It's a place. It's the place they're located in. They're in Phoenix. Players don't really want to go to Phoenix. Players want to go to Toronto. They want to go to New York. They want to go to Chicago. They want to go to the big cities.
I think you're wrong. That's not how the NBA works anymore.
Yeah, Phoenix is the 6th largest city in the country.
Brandon, there's no big city vibe anymore. Yes, it is to some extent, but you can. But Giannis is a perfect example of someone in Milwaukee.
Yeah, but Giannis
getting pub.
Except here's the thing: Giannis, as he made very clear in his speech after he won, he said he had no interest in going to a team that was already built.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to do it, to stick with the team he had been building for a while. How many players in the league do you know that have the like mental fortitude to stick around for a build?
There's only a few there's only a few teams left. And the reason why I say this too is that feasibly there's only a few potential super teams left in the league, and not super teams, but like super interest teams. The only 2 that are feasibly left is Dallas, and if you're like another superstar, Dallas and the Knicks, and that's it. Like feasibly, yeah, because the Knicks are always getting interest.
I would agree with the Knicks. I would agree with the Knicks. I would not agree with Dallas. The reason I agree with the Knicks is because I think that setup they have there with the players and Tom Thibodeau is pretty interesting. And the staff. Would be very interesting to a lot of players, I think.
I think Dallas is of interest just because, I mean, you trade Kristaps in a sign and trade. You get maybe I don't think Lillard's interested in. I got no vibe that he's interested in going to Dallas, but Giannis when he was going up there.
Dallas needs someone that can do some more defense.
Yeah, I personally think the team I think is going to fall off, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think the Nets are going to fall off.
My pick is the Clippers because they're not going to have Kawhi for a whole year, and this is his final year of his deal. He's going to accept that option. They're probably going to be a 6 or 7, right? And I heard I heard Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo talk about this as well, where it's like, oh yeah, the Clippers are not going to be that good. Like this was probably their best chance because Kawhi is going to take that option and not play for the entire year. So Paul George can't do it all on his own with that team. Brooklyn, the biggest thing with Brooklyn is they have their big 3. They have basically all that's under contract. Of note for them is the big 3 and Joe Harris. The rest is there's nothing for the rest. Like, will Blake Griffin come back? Potentially. Dinwiddie's not coming back. The Lakers or he's said to be interested in the Lakers, as a lot of players are, which we'll get to, but no Dinwiddie. Yeah, I mean, they traded Jared Allen, of course, which in hindsight, that doesn't look too good. DeAndre Jordan, you probably re-sign, I guess, but I mean, it does kind of looks good because you got Harden, right,
Well,
Griffin, but
it's
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It,
Well, I guess I'm just throwing names out there, but like they basically all I'm trying to say is they literally have no one under contract. How
yeah,
are they going to fill that bench?
it's interesting because I remember when they traded away pretty much their entire depth to get Harden. I remember we had a conversation about this, and I off the top of my head, I was just saying like they went from a team that easily could make a run of it with depth, and now they've just given away. They've traded away all their depth. I didn't think it would have as much of an impact. It really did, because what they did is they filled up their cap with 3 players, and then got rid of their depth, and it's really looking like a poor deal.
I think Dinwiddie not accepting his player option hurts them a lot.
Yeah,
Like he didn't play all this year due to injury, but like I don't even think he was gonna go back anyway. But like I was certain that like if he accepted that player option, they'd be in a better spot, and he's just not gonna come back. So we'll see how they fill out that depth, but that scares me because they just don't have any.
They need defense.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then for the Lakers, they've like my biggest thing with every LeBron team is like there's always these rumors for all these guys to go to the Lakers or to go to LeBron's team, and then it doesn't happen, or it does and they might get traded halfway through. So like I'm not making a bunch of it. I'm not like making too much of a hoopla of it right now of like Kyle Lowry's of interest, DeMar DeRozan. We've heard Russell Westbrook. Obviously, we've heard Chris Paul, which I think is more likely than not, because I think if you're looking at Chris Paul, the only 2 destinations for him are either go back to Phoenix or go to the Lakers. I don't think he's at all interested in going to Brooklyn. So like I put these rumors with a grain of salt because it just kind of seems like smoke until someone signs on the dotted line.
Yeah, I'd go to Lakers if I'm Chris Paul. Or not. No, let me rephrase that. That's what I imagine he will try and do.
Yeah. But Brandon, do you take any of these rumors, especially with like Lowry and DeRozan as well, and like Westbrook, or you're talking about Chris Paul, but like those 3, do you take those with anything more than a grain of salt right now?
I don't know. I think most of these players, I don't think they would really get moved. Maybe Westbrook, but he seems like he's managing okay in DC. Yeah. I don't know.
Shane, your thoughts? Anything more than a grain of salt for you right now?
I mean, I know that LA is interested in getting a point guard, and Westbrook and Chris Paul are definitely, 2 people that I could see leaving and, going to seek a championship or whatnot, because that's kind of their thing. But, I mean, at this point, it's ultimately just rumors. So,
yeah,
we don't know, but we'll see.
Looking ahead, though, we do have some Olympic basketball coming up, and I did want to talk about the U.S. men's team as they're about to play France in a couple of days now. This team disappointed tremendously in the run-up to the Olympics. And I think the most interesting thing is bringing in JaVale McGee. I wasn't too surprised with Keldon Johnson. He did perform very well in select camp over the summer. But I don't like the one thing that I always don't like, and I don't know if you guys feel this way about international ball as well. One of the things that I don't like about international ball is it hasn't really evolved pretty much at all compared to the NBA, because the NBA has evolved into the 3-point era and all this stuff. FIBA and, international ball hasn't really developed into that as much. It's still very much like recently I was watching like the London 2012 gold medal, right, with guys like Tyson Chandler on the block. That's very much what international basketball still is. And I wonder if you guys think that this team is kind of a reflection of that or not.
I mean, I think there's a couple things going on here. For starters, basketball internationally is just getting better, regardless of the style of play or what have you. The talent itself around the world is improving. I mean, just look at the NBA today. Like, it seems like half the stars are from either Europe or Africa or wherever. But aside from that, I think that the fact that there are these two very different playing styles, it kind of it's something that I think could really either benefit the US greatly or really hurt them. Because if it's a type of thing where it allows them to be fast and be flashy and kind of catch people off guard, then that's great. But if instead this kind of older style is a shock to them, or they're like, oh, what do we do? And it kind of throws them off, which kind of seems like that happened a bit more.
Yeah, that's happened over the warm-ups for sure.
And then that's obviously a hindrance. So it's, I don't know. I mean, part of me wonders if it's just, the team trying to mesh and that's the problem, or if, or if the talent is just better around the world, or, if it's kind of this disconnect of playing styles. And it's, it's probably a little bit of all of them, if I'm being honest. At least that's how I feel. But yeah.
Brannan, what are your thoughts on like the changes in international play?
So, I actually just got done watching a documentary on the 96 Dream Team, and they talked about, there's actually at the very end of the documentary, I think everybody should watch it who's interested in sports, because it
is this the NBA TV one?
Yeah, it's the NBA.
Yeah, one of the best sports documentaries.
You can find it. You can find it on YouTube. Just search.
Just search the Dream Team. It's one of the best documentaries.
Yeah, it's really good. But at the very end, they talk about how the Dream Team directly impacted the rise of international players in the NBA, and therefore the rise in competition in the Olympics. Because you had guys like Ginobili and Tim Duncan, other guys who all got into basketball from watching the Dream Team. And so I personally think it helps the game be more interesting when you're surprised by how many big name players are on or Team Italy or whatever. Because I was looking at Australia's lineup, and they could be a real threat. They got some guys.
They're very good. They got Thibault, they got Baines, who was hurt in the lead up, but they are very good.
Yeah.
And and that's part of what makes, that's what makes international basketball great. I think that's what's going to make this run in Tokyo really good. But I also firmly feel that it's not that. That's what kind of freaked me out about the McGee pick, because I was like, okay, you could get a younger center like Christian Wood and do the same thing, or why not just play small and shoot threes? I have a hard time being like, oh, just because the game is different, like, why do we need to play to it? And like, you can, but why do you need a veteran big to do that? Like, why do you need a Kevin Love originally? Like, why, like, I just have a hard time with that.
Yeah, it definitely makes for. I think what I like about it too is that it makes for very unpredictable games,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of fun because it feels like in the past, it's just essentially been like the U.S. looking like the Harlem Globetrotters while they just play it. You know what I mean? Like
Remember 2012? We when that team beat Nigeria like 146 like 58. Yeah. Other than that Spain game in the final, which was actually a great game, I highly recommend to go back and watch it. Also, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Boris Johnson sat next to each other during that game, which is super interesting and funny looking back on it. But that game is an amazing way to look at it, like international ball.
Wow. That team was like LeBron, Kobe, KD, right?
young James Harden, old Tyson Chandler. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that game's great. And if you want to look kind of at what we're talking about in terms of like how old it was, because it's like very similar. So they go up against France on Sunday morning on NBC. This is real now. Like you lose to Nigeria, you lose to Australia in the lead up. Don't play that well ultimately throughout the entire lead up in Vegas. France is a real test for this team, a bigger test than I think we're thinking of. Like I'm very interested to watch this team against France because I think there's a real chance they can lose in the final minutes.
Well, who does France even have?
Boris Diaw, Rudy Gobert. Like they are a real threat. And to open up against them, considering how we let up, it's definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting. This team is not. Let's just put it this way: this team's not where we thought they would be going into.
I'm gonna say this: even if we do lose this year, there's a part of me that's like, this is like not a year that Americans should be like, oh my God, we lost, we didn't, or like we got silver, we got like bronze. Look, like most of the players who would normally be like, yeah, sure, I'll play. You know what they're doing? They're resting because they just got done. Like, like look at the players that were bringing in as alternates. Like they're players that would never even get touched for the team.
Right, but like I still feel like you got Lillard, you got Durant, old Draymond doesn't really count. Let's see. I mean, you got Bam, you got Devin Booker. Like you have a better team. I would say even still substantially better than any other roster.
Well, see, but that's also a point, though. You're bringing in. I think they will be better because they're bringing in players like D-Book and like
Bam and these guys never got a shot.
Guys who you got 3 players who were playing in the finals, who
last couple seasons, yeah.
Well, like in this year's finals, they got 3 players coming in who weren't there for the warm-up games.
Middleton, Drew Holiday. Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I think people are overreacting a little bit. I
mean, they are just tune-up games, but it's not perfect.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Shane, Brannan and I did talk about this on Wednesday when we recorded our previous episode of the week. But I definitely wanted to get your thoughts. Texas and Oklahoma potentially going into the SEC. What are your overall thoughts on that?
No. No. Unnecessary. Stay in your own conference. No,
Oh.
I mean, in all seriousness, I don't. I mean, for starters, they're not really in that region. I mean, they're close, but they're not like in the Southeast. You know, they're
I
more
mean,
like the
Texas
plains.
A&M's in the SEC now, so
I know, but I don't know. I mean, my thing is like if they because they're Big 10, no 12, Big
yeah,
12, right?
both of these teams are Big 12 teams.
So I mean, like if they leave, then like what is the Big 12? Like they might as well be a Division II conference at that point, right? So I mean, I don't know. It's just and then the SEC is just going to be more of a powerhouse than it already is. Not that Texas is that at least like in football, Texas isn't that amazing, but you have like Oklahoma, who is. So and then it's like the playoff is going to be Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Ohio State's in there. Alabama, Ohio State, and then like cycle through between LSU, Georgia, and Oklahoma, all SEC teams, if that were to happen.
But like they might, well, if they expand the playoff too, which is kind of next in the docket to whatever 16, like that changes it a little bit.
I hope at least 8 teams. Like, come on, make it more interesting. But
will that make the regular season less interesting? Because that's part of my problem. Is it really makes it unnecessary?
No, actually, not at all. In fact, I think it makes it more interesting because right now you really only have to win, you have to basically like to guarantee a spot in the playoff. You basically have to just try and win every single game. And to me, like that's dumb because then you have like how do I explain this? Because if you do that, then it's like you're just looking for teams to win. But then if you have, let's say, 16 teams, then there'll be a game between like, let's say Oregon and USC, who are like 9-10 win teams. And so they have like a late game or they have like a late season game. And it's like, ooh, can one of them hang in there? And, it's just like, I guess what I'm saying is what does happen in the regular season does have more of an effect on the playoffs because there are so many more people in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because then that way it feels like a lot of people are fighting for a chance as opposed to just like the top 10 who are realistically probably getting in.
Brandon, do you feel like it dilutes the regular season if they move up to, let's say, 16 teams?
No, I don't, because I think if you move to 16, it takes away the ability for the NCAA to do their SEC bias. I think it makes it so that they have to look at other teams. They have to give other teams a chance. They have to like think about it last year. Like think about how like if there was 16 teams last year, you would have gotten teams like Cincinnati and like whatever. But
Cincinnati is a good example.
There would be some like thinking in the past. There would be some really interesting
Oregon
matchups. Oregon
would have been in. That would have been fun.
Should have been UW, but whatever. I don't know. Like my thing with Texas and Oklahoma is why would they want to go to the SEC? Because here's the thing. They're the big dogs in the Big 12.
Like they would just be making it harder for themselves.
They run the Big 12, and for a fact that the moment they go into the SEC,
they're gonna get creamed by everybody.
Alabama's gonna like walk in the room metaphorically and tell Texas to shut up
Even Auburn, who's more mid-level, is gonna give Oklahoma a run for their money.
Here's the thing. Alabama's gonna walk in the room metaphorically, tell Texas to shut up about the whole like horns down thing, and just be like, stop being such a baby. Like Texas doesn't. Here's the thing: if Texas won against bigger teams like consistently when they play them in non-conference, I would be like, oh yeah, okay, sure, you should go to the SEC. But they don't.
Oklahoma doesn't either.
Oklahoma doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Like, and think about Think about Fox. Fox is over here like, really? You're gonna take away our biggest rivalry game?
Yeah, I was just talking about that yesterday. Like, so from the network perspective, like ESPN wins either way. They don't care. But if you're Fox, you're sitting there going like, okay, so basically all we have is the Pac-12. A conference that we're not. Well, I mean, again, this is what.
So negative.
I'm not being negative towards the Pac-12. If I'm an executive at Fox, if you're an executive at Fox, that's your thought on the Pac-12. You're just like,
I don't know. You could get Oregon, Washington. That'd be a good rivalry game to play.
But again, college football
USC,
doesn't care about.
Nobody cares about USC.
Nobody like.
Well, they're good.
When they're good, everyone cares about them.
Yeah,
that's like your only hope if you're Fox. Either way, you're like, like Oklahoma, Texas goes straight to ESPN unless they conjure up some deal. And I'm like, okay, man. Like, if I'm Fox, I hate. Even if I'm ESPN, I don't care. If I'm ESPN, I would want this to happen just because I know how valuable the SEC deal is.
Do you think the rest of the people in the Big 12 will go on, or do you think they'll get picked off by other conferences?
I don't know. I think it just gets diluted.
Become the Big 8.
Yeah, because I've heard like talk about like, oh, maybe the Pac-12 will try and get like Texas A&M or stuff like that, expand out into Texas, and I'm over here like, all right, so we're literally a conference that was originally built around being on the Pacific coast. You're over here trying, like, there's literally a reason why we're called the PAC. It's the Pacific Time Zone Conference.
Other than Colorado.
You want to bring
and Utah.
You want to bring Texas into the Pacific Time Zone Conference. Like, what are you doing?
Again, it's not really the Pacific Time Zone Conference, Colorado and Utah, but it's totally fine. It's like basically the vicinity, I guess. Fine.
It's like you don't go that far, whatever. I really don't like all this talk about like Texas A&M. I really have a really hard time like thinking that any of these Texas teams would actually like merge into. I think, to be honest, Texas A&M would probably end up in the ACC.
Texas A&M wants to stay in. Texas A&M is in the main reason this happened was like the last couple years what Jimbo's done with Texas A&M in the SEC has made teams like Texas and Oklahoma go like, ooh, more money and we can actually be semi-competitive. They're not correct, or that we can be competitive, but they're going to be semi-competitive. The main reason why this is happening is partially what Jimbo's done at Texas A&M. So like that's a huge part of it. But
well, also it's interesting because if you think about it, there could be an interesting rivalry there because I just remembered this. Whom is the new coach for Texas?
Oh, it's Sark, isn't it? Right?
Indeed, it is. It is Sarkisian. That would be an interesting little Bama, Texas, Sarkisian, Nick Saban.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. And like the states are getting involved now too. Like I think, what is it? Is it the Texas state legislature? I have to look at this. But
something like that.
This came out this morning, or like actually a few hours before we started. That like I think this is like Texas state legislators like. We want the states to have power over some of the conferences.
That's so stupid.
Like we have to go from like, why does everything collegiate have to go through federal or local governments? It's
also
just,
like, why is everybody acting like Texas is like this amazing team to begin with? Like they're acting like they're like hot stuff when they haven't won a conference championship in years, and they are just honestly kind of mediocre.
So Texas House Republican, this is from Chris Vanity, Texas House Republican Dustin Burrows files a bill to require state legislator approval for a state university to change athletic conferences. Burrow is from
that
Little
makes
Rock and
sense
went to
because it's a
Texas
public
Tech.
university. So,
Yeah.
But
the fact that we have to go to like federal lengths to deal with this is stupid. It's beyond stupid.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the NFL. Let's move on to the professional game, get through some news, and then we'll get to our division previews. We did the NFC and AFC West last time. We're going to do the East of those two conferences next. But to begin, we will start with some NFC West news. Cam Akers touring his Achilles. What does this mean for Matthew Stafford and the Rams? Brandon, you start off. And Brandon is on mute, so Shane, you can go ahead.
Well, I don't like it for him. I really don't. I believe Cam Akers was my X Factor player for the Rams.
I think it was mine as well, yeah.
Or if he wasn't, I heavily considered him. But or no, I might have been Aaron Donald. Anyways.
Yeah, either way, he was in that running for sure.
And so, because the Rams, the last time the Rams were really good in that Super Bowl year, the reason was because they had that really strong running game to complement their pass game. And I felt like with Cam Akers, they really had that because they had that guy that they could rely on. And now they don't, at least for this year. And, I think it's going to be yes, I think Stafford is good, but he's not amazing. I think he's, I have the NFL quarterbacks in 5 tiers. To me, he's like a tier 2 guy where Jared Goff is tier 3. So, he's a step up, not a huge one, but he is. And he's brand new to the team. And this is Sean McVay's offense, which is pretty complex. He's not going to click right away. I mean, we saw Tom Brady, who to me is a tier 1, maybe lower tier 1 at this point, just because of his age.
Mm-hmm.
He's an overrated munchkin.
And
the GOAT, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe like a mule. I don't know.
and he he took until November to really click.
I would go as far as to say last week of December.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so Stafford, I don't think he's gonna, and not to mention Brady has, in my opinion, probably the highest football IQ of any person to ever play the game, and so, or any quarterback, I should say. At least I know that much. But so, I don't think that Stafford's gonna really click that quickly, considering the complexity of the offense from Sean McVay. So, without that strong run game, I mean, yeah, Darrell Henderson is fine, but he's not that game changer like Cam Akers would be. And
right, but that makes me a lot less concerned because I know he's capable of RB1, like RB1 production. I mean, he's capable of it.
Yeah, he's very up and down though.
Because he doesn't have RB1 production.
Well, yeah.
He didn't have it. Now he's going to have it. I'm not saying he's going to be Cam Akers level good. No. If anything, in terms of fantasy value, he's just going to be a volume-based guy. But the fact is he's going to get that volume. And that can work with Stafford.
Right. No, I mean, overall, I just don't feel very confident in the Rams now. Because to me, they improved their pass game because of Stafford, but I think their running game is not necessarily bad, but is going to be worse this year than it was last year. And I think both their rushing and passing defense will also be worse this year because of everybody they've lost throughout the defense. So, I mean, as a result, I don't honestly, I don't even. I mean, I think they maybe make it into a wild card if they're lucky. But I think they'll kind of be like a 6th, 7th, maybe 8th team in the NFC, just kind of floating around in the middle somewhere. But,
Brandon, your thoughts?
I agree with Shane.
Oh, thank you.
On whatever he's talking about, I assume it has to do with the Rams.
Yeah, we're talking about the Cam Akers injury.
Yeah. Some people might be like, oh, one player is not going to impact a team. Actually, one player can throw a lot of wrenches in their works.
Depending on what they bring to the team.
Well, it's pretty obvious that the Rams are trying to go back to the old ground and pound routine. And the problem is this is also going to I think this is going to be a real problem for Stafford, because when you have a running back, it makes, when you have a reliable running back, you can kind of not necessarily hide behind it, but it allows for, like, throw the ball a couple times, run the ball a couple times, throw the ball a couple times, run the ball a couple times. In this case, it's going to be the offense, I think, is going to go through Stafford a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Not like it wasn't going to go through him to begin with. But I think my belief that that the Rams are going to, like, all of a sudden be, like, right to the Super Bowl first year of him being there, my belief has, like, gone way down. Maybe
I
2
think
years
it's
from now.
I think it's so unlikely right now. They're not in a contendership. And I think you both are right that playoff window that people thought they would be in is closing.
Well, that's what I was going to finish up with, is I think they really may have screwed the pooch here a little bit, because they spent all that money on Stafford thinking that they were going to be in a playoff position, and frankly, good luck. They don't have any draft picks for the next, like, 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're, like, if I'm Stafford, I'm like, great, cool, wonderful, wow, amazing, so cool.
It's like Draft Day, Brannon.
Yeah, pretty much, like
that movie.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like, in hindsight, I think Detroit absolutely won that.
100%.
Like,
with the picks.
I mean, that's because you get a quarterback that
can be your guy for 2 years.
Yeah, he's a good bridge guy for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years.
It's going to be 2. It's going to be 2 because they have to opt out after 2. It's going to be 2.
But still, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe he'll be amazing.
He's not. Yeah, like he's not.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I said, he's about a 2 or 3 guy, kind of middle of the road. But he'll be fine for a couple of years while you kind of get your footing, and then with all those draft picks, you can get a guy, and then, I mean, they're building that offense, especially the offensive line. I don't know. I mean, there's also what's his name, Dan Campbell, who's a.
I mean, we all know what his deal is.
Yeah, but
crap for you in the toilet.
Yeah, at least it wasn't the worst hiring.
No.
Head coach hiring of the offseason.
He's gonna be fun. Let's get you some contracts. Brandon, I'll start with Jamal Adams here. With the Seahawks are open to make him the highest paid safety, so about $17 million a year. Lock him up.
I'm just gonna start with that might be the stupidest, like, no shit statement I've heard from a like professional media member in a long time.
What, that they're open to making
Yeah,
it?
that they're open. That they're open. Not that they're open. It's the fact that they're basically like, yeah, the Seahawks are like that. They're like chill with him with making, like, they're very, 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 very fine with making him the highest, because it's like,
That's off-season news for you
well, no,
in July
no, like,
23rd.
here's the thing. The reason I say it's no shit is because, like, if they weren't open to doing it, we would have been like, goodbye, Jamal.
Right.
Bye. It wouldn't have even been a conversation
I mean,
to
they
begin
could have
with.
tagged him. They could have thought of tagging him. But...
They were not gonna tag him again. If they tagged him, here's the problem.
I mean, not again, but
here's the thing. If you tag him again, he's basically like, bye.
Yeah. I mean,
but
this is NFL news on July 23rd.
Okay,
like, this is what happens.
Yeah, I get it, but I just heard about that today, and I was like, oh my god, really? You think this is like huge? But yeah, I think the Hawks, they will probably, I believe a deal will get done.
Yeah.
By the end of the second week of training camp.
So let's keep this in mind. So you got Bobby at 18 mil, Wagner at 18 mil, and then Jamal at like 16 mil. That's your cornerstone here for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, you don't bring in a guy like Jamal and then not extend him.
Right. And that's kind of the main thing, is like, that's a great thing for this defense to have both of them locked up for the next, obviously Jamal is more important long term, but to have both of them.
The other great thing is, once you get Jamal locked up, you have him locked up, you have Bobby locked up, you have Russell locked up for 3. You have DK coming up. DK's really the only guy you have to. Here's the thing. DK's the only big contract guy next year, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be more than that.
And they'll be. But the thing is, the way the Seahawks work is by getting all these players done, they're going to be able to next year go, all right, let's do, or not even next year. I think they'll probably, before the end of the season, they'll probably be like, all right, DK's coming up, Lockett's coming up, so-and-so's coming up, and they'll probably go down the list, be like, let's extend Lockett, let's extend DK,
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to extend DK for at least another year or two, since he's just coming off his rookie year, but at least they'll have the 5th year option.
But they'll be in the talks, and
actually, no, he doesn't have a 5th year option.
No,
he's a second rounder.
He's coming. His contract is coming up.
It's like 2 years. Yeah.
He will be that will be a big contract. But the good news is, by dealing with all the other big contracts, they are opening up the books to pay a guy like DK. And if anybody says, oh, DK won't get a big contract, they are crazy. DK has shown
he's going to get a ridiculous contract.
He has shown that he is worth the money. I think the Hawks are going to put themselves in a good position, especially because, yes, this year was rough with the cap going down.
It's going to go back up.
I think it's going to go. I think it's going to skyrocket in the next couple of years.
It's going to continue to go up and up and up.
Yeah, like this year was rough because of last year, but like, oh my god.
I think they had a 25. Every league basically had a 25% drop, and now every league this year with fans coming back is going to just continue.
I think it's going to get stupid, and like, since the Hawks are like in a pretty good cap space, it's only
it's going to be good. So Shane, let's switch to another big name player in Devontae Adams. The contract talks have broken off. Of course, a lot of that's due to Aaron Rodgers. He's got one more year on his deal. If he decides to become a free agent this time, or actually, let's say 2022 at this point, right? Next year, next offseason, what do you think his market will look like?
Well, for starters, I think Jamal is absolutely worth the money. If, people that say he's not probably don't watch him because they just hear the memes that he's Blitz boy or whatever. But when you watch him, I mean, you can see that this dude is basically 2 defenders in one. And I don't mean like he can do a bunch of things, but I mean like he's everywhere all the time somehow. But for Devontae, I think he's the type of guy that is probably not probably. I think teams, if he is a free agent, I think teams will look at him with, top dollar in mind, looking to pay him as the highest receiver, just to get a guy like that. Because there are so many good receivers in the league right now, obviously, as we've talked about. But you need not only 2 good receivers, but honestly, I think nowadays you need 3 good receivers in this game with the way it's evolving.
Good slot guy to edge it out.
Right. So, there are a lot of teams that would love to have a receiver like that. Like, obviously, there are the teams that are already kind of weak at receiver, like New England, for instance, even though they got a couple of free agents, but not anything
N'Keal
like
Harry's
that.
going to get traded, so they're going to get a lot worse.
Yeah. Like New England. Who else? Bears, they could use another guy with Allen Robinson, assuming he stays.
He ain't going to stay.
He's leaving.
Well,
He's
there you
leaving
go.
after the franchise tag.
And here's my thing. What does that tell us about Devontae Adams leaving?
Well, well, I mean, he has one more year. He's going to stay this year unless they trade him. But it's Aaron. Like, the only reason he's there is because he loves that connection with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, here's the thing. He's not doing a new contract, which means I'm pretty certain Aaron probably has told him, like, hey, I'm out. Even if I come back next year, here's the thing that frustrates me, that keeps making me wonder, like, all the media keeps being like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, of course he's gonna go to training camp for the Packers. But he has made it very clear multiple times, I'm not showing up. Like, he should
go to camp and then get traded after the first day of camp.
But they're not going to trade him.
He's going to get moved at some point.
No, he won't.
I don't think so.
The Packers have made it very clear that they're not going to trade him, and Aaron's made it very clear he's not going anywhere. I mean, he's not going to go there. So
they're at a stalemate.
Yeah, like it's a situation where I laughed pretty hard at this. I saw an article that was tweeted out. I forget who tweeted it out, but it said draft books sources say Aaron Rodgers to retire tomorrow.
Right, like sportsbooks are like
sportsbooks are saying that he's going to retire, and I'm like, bro, if he just straight up retires, that will be the biggest baller move of all time. Just like,
we will have to do a 20-minute emergency episode.
I would be like, you know what? I've never respected Aaron Rodgers so much, because you know what? This is basically the screw you guys. I don't need your money. I got all the money in the world.
And he's already a Hall of Famer.
I got all the money. I got a hot fiance.
I got a ring. I'm a Hall of Famer.
Here's my middle finger. I'll see you later.
Bye-bye. And then they'll be like, oh, damn. Well, he totally played us.
I got my Super Bowl ring. Singular ring.
You know what would be great? If I was Aaron Rodgers and I was
my
NBA
championship ring.
Yeah, exactly. If I was Aaron Rodgers and I was going to retire, I would do a video making fun of Russell's "Hey Seattle, we back." Just lying on. Except this time I'd be like lying on an armchair. I'd be like,
"Hey Green Bay, we gone."
I'd be like, "Hey Green Bay, I'm out." just
let me go host Jeopardy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, he's playing this so smooth, though. He's literally just like, he's not talking to anyone. He's not talking to the media. He's not doing anything. He's just He's just going. He's just
playing golf. That's the only thing he's done is play golf and match with Brady.
He's just hanging out. It's great.
Going on vacation. Yeah, I mean, I think there's about a 99% chance he plays this year.
Wait,
just based off of.
Yeah,
I didn't say where. I just said.
Oh,
no, I didn't say where. I just said I think there's a 99% chance that he plays.
I really don't think he's going to play, because, and my reasoning is this: there's no way Green Bay lets him go. No way.
I mean, the market has dwindled down, but that's just because Gutekunst has been like, yeah, we're not interested.
Well, here's the thing, right? Okay, so teams he could go to. Denver, they don't have anything to give. Chicago, they don't need a quarterback anymore.
If I'm Denver, can I give up Von Miller and Drew Lock?
I'm not. If I'm maybe Von Miller 3 years ago.
No, but Von Miller's making $17 million, 1 year left. If I'm Green Bay, can I just take that?
I don't know. If I'm Green Bay, I would be like maybe Von Miller and a couple picks. I don't know.
Andrew Luck, and that's it. Yeah. But that's a fair offer.
Cortland Sutton.
No Cortland Sutton.
No,
there's no way they're giving up Cortland. There's no way they're giving up Cortland.
Aaron, one of the reasons Aaron would want to go to Denver is Cortland Sutton. Maybe Miami. They got all their picks. They got their stockpile of picks. Miami could be like.
That's where I'm trying to go.
Take some. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't know. New York.
Easier division than AFC West.
He could go to the.
I don't think New York. Not right now. Maybe if he stays in Green Bay this year and then next year, the Giants are like Daniel Jones is not it. Then yes, but
here's a weird idea. What if he went to the Chargers and he was like an older version of Justin Herbert? Because it's like
Chargers are not interested.
I look at Justin Herbert sometimes and I'm like, Justin Herbert just looks like a younger version of Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers was like a Cali surfer bro, just like Aaron Rodgers is like the hippie version of Aaron Rodgers, and then Justin Herbert's just like the Cali surfer bro version of him.
Justin Herbert fits in like strangely well with the 100%.
Yeah,
it's just so like, weird.
Especially if they'd stayed in San Diego. Like, think about that. That would be perfect.
So
he's so San Diego. But I don't know. I think,
which is funny because he's from Eugene, Oregon, which is
exactly
in the middle of the country, just nowhere.
I think whatever happens with the Aaron Rodgers saga, it will be a unexpected ending. I believe you might be very right, Shane. He might play. He might not play. I think what we all know is going to happen is whatever happens is going to be on Aaron Rodgers' terms, because he is done playing on the terms of the owner. Because I just have to ask the question.
It's not even the owner, because it's all stock. It's Gutekunst. Really.
I just have to ask the question of, how does a team manage to get to a point where they have their arguably best player have zero guaranteed money on a contract? That's like asking for someone to be pissed off.
Oh, does he not have any guaranteed money?
He has zero guaranteed money.
That's really weird.
That's his whole problem.
His whole problem is Gutekunst.
Well, yeah,
that's really his problem.
Well, Gutekunst and all the crappy deals he's been getting, and
which is on Gutekunst.
Which is like, honestly, I want him to leave Green Bay, because honestly, Green Bay is Green Bay is bad for the league. Like the way they're set up, like it's, I don't know. It just they don't deserve Rodgers.
So Mike Flory of Pro Football Talk reported this 3 hours ago that there's like a tip that Rodgers will announce his retirement before Wednesday's initial practice. So not tomorrow, but like sometime on Wednesday.
That'd be a baller move.
I don't know. Like I get it. Like Vegas is usually right, but this is one where I'd be like, if this actually happens, he's just wasting the last 5 years of his career.
I'm just imagining Brady like on a hill with like a sniper rifle just pointed at him, just like a microphone. He's like, and now you're gonna retire. You're gonna tell them you're retiring, and you're gonna walk away very slowly. No sudden movements, and I will be the last of our kind left in the league. I'm just imagining that. He's like on the phone. He's like, do you know who I am? I'm your worst enemy. I don't.
I'm here to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Rodgers. He's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers.
So, but what's freaky about this is that like sports books are like, yeah, the win total for Green Bay, you can't even bet on it.
Yeah, because it's gonna like drop to like 3. If I was gonna bet, I'd say like
6.
No.
6. They're gonna with Jordan Love. Or Blake
they
Bortles.
Still got Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reason Aaron Jones did so good is because he had Rodgers being all like shady and like dodgy and like being like, oh, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over here. No, I'm gonna go over here. No, I'm gonna throw it. No, I'm actually gonna run it.
I will say that that's a little freaky. Let's put it that way, because the sports books wouldn't do that if there wasn't something significant going on. But I don't know. I just have a hard time with a guy like Aaron. Like, yeah, sure, he'll make the Hall of Fame regardless of which. But I have a hard time with Aaron retiring just because of a team dispute.
I don't think he's going to go down that easily.
Yeah.
Just knowing him, you know.
If anything, he should have just opted out because of COVID. Like that's partially my thing here. It's like,
I think
if
that's
you are
the
going to
worst
retire,
possible thing you can do in
Yeah,
this
he wouldn't have
scenario.
got money.
he would have
saved.
He would have
year.
saved 10
Yeah.
million. He would have saved.
No, but
10 million.
he wouldn't have moved his number down the line for how long he was there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
Also, in injury news, it seems like Michael Thomas is going to miss a few weeks of the regular season.
Shane, you might be able to explain this. Why would someone opt to have surgery for an injury they knew they had at the beginning of the offseason, at the end of the offseason?
Is that what happened here?
Yes, this is what happened. He knew he needed this surgery like for basically all the offseason. And he's like, I'm just gonna have it now. That's what happened.
Well,
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Because
I mean, it would make sense that that's what happened, because if he's going to miss a few weeks,
you don't benefit in any way from that.
So let's see. So Thomas had surgery of his ankle ligaments in June.
Yeah.
So he had it in June.
Yeah, he had it in June.
We probably should have gotten it in February.
Yeah, he
March.
knew he needed the surgery. Like,
I wonder if he was trying to get second opinions that he didn't need surgery, because it was just ankle ligaments. So I wonder if he was trying to get second opinions throughout the summer. That could happen.
So here's an article from ESPN.com. Saints receiver Michael Thomas underwent ankle surgery in June. He was plagued by the injury throughout last season, and Adam Schefter had previously reported that he was expected to undergo surgery to repair the torn deltoid and other injured ligaments in his ankle. It is unclear why he had surgery so late in the offseason.
Again, could be based on second opinions.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He missed 9 games over 2 stints on injured reserve last season after initially injuring the ankle in week 1. Like, it. Also, second opinions don't take that long.
That's true.
So, again, I asked you, Shane, as the resident football player amongst us, why?
Or coach
that happen?
amongst us.
Yes, coach amongst us.
I couldn't tell you that.
Like,
that makes the story really weird.
That was my exact thought today, was like, what? Like, why would someone wait especially when they injured when you injure at week 1, and you pretty much would know probably like, hey, you should get this done as soon as possible. Obviously, it makes sense. Like, they want to play out the season. Okay, fine, cool. But like, most players are like, okay, cool, we're out of contention, or the season's over, or they lose a playoff game. Immediately, week later, they're probably on the operating table. Not waiting till June.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, I don't know what that's. I have no clue. I don't know if it's just because I don't think it's because he doesn't want to play. I think it might have something to do with the organization.
Yeah. Shane, how does this make you feel, though, having had Michael Thomas on your fantasy team?
I had him. What are you talking about?
That's right. That's
no,
right.
I did at first.
You did at first, and I tried Julio.
How do the two of you feel about it? Because I literally told y'all I was going to take him because I had him the year before and he was great, and then you guys drafted him, Shane, and he was trash, and then you gave him to Robert and he was trash. How does that make you feel?
Shane, I know that you don't like ties.
Better.
Shane, remember how we talked about how you don't like ties? Yeah. That trade was a tie.
No.
Nobody won.
No, I won easily.
No, because you traded Chase Edmonds a week later. So nobody won.
No, I got Julio out of that.
But he also got hurt.
No, but at least he
gave you 1 or 2 good games.
No, he gave me 3 or 4 good games.
I guess that makes
MC gave you 0.
But we will be back doing fantasy football this year, so I'm pretty excited for that.
I think I'm gonna take.
Are you not gonna take a receiver in the first round?
I think I'm gonna take Daniel Jones in the first round.
Nice.
God. Speaking of fantasy, considering the NFL has said that due to a COVID outbreak amongst unvaccinated players, the game will result in a forfeit. How does that affect fantasy? Because if that does occur,
oh yeah.
So
that does occur, what's gonna happen is that we're just gonna have the same problem as last year, where we're just gonna get DQ'd.
I mean, maybe
the heck are we gonna do that?
Maybe they'll just like give us the stats that were like estimated for the game.
I don't
like
how the heck is that gonna work?
Well, you know how like every player gets like estimated stats.
So like 10.8 basically.
Like the average that they were supposed to get. Which I'd be pretty pissed off because usually those averages are really low because usually they're like a lot higher than
they're either really low or they're really high.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a guy would get like 13.3 just because he expects a touchdown and he doesn't get one. Like that's my main question with this like COVID stuff because like we've already said our pieces about like how we feel about vaccinated, unvaccinated, but like obviously that thing that I said a month ago is not holding true. And I know that as I talk about, Mike Florio said this too. It's like the thing that they should be saying is like, you should get vaccinated for the benefit of the team. And clearly that hasn't landed if this happened and they're still not there yet. The guys like DeAndre Hopkins, guys like Cole Beasley.
I was going to say the guy that like, when I think of how it affects fantasy, the first guy that comes to my mind is Hopkins.
Yeah.
Because like, he's a guy that would,
he could go in the first round.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, like you really have to ask the question: do you take him? Like, do you take someone
it's like. But now I feel like he's maybe more of a third or fourth round guy, just because of the risk.
I don't know. I honestly think we're talking about the issues here, and I think it's not going to be a situation like that because I think a lot of the players. The league is already at like something like an 85% vaccinated rate. Like
16 teams are already at the 85%.
The Seahawks are at 90%, I think.
That's the highest.
I think a lot of teams are going to end up like very close to 100% vaccinated. I think you're only going to get I think the situation is like, I think there's going to be those teams that kind of, those players that kind of speak out and they're like angry. Oh, most players I've seen who have tweeted about it, basically have said they've tweeted things like, wasn't gonna get it, but I got it now because I didn't want to possibly
hurt my team.
Shruggy shoulder emoji. Which, you know what? I respect it. Because you know what that shows? It shows you're a grown-ass adult. Like honestly, just...
Yeah.
These players who are, like, complaining about it, you're supposed to be an adult. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm done, like, being like...
I'm kind of done talking about this because we've already kind of said our piece.
Oh, well, here's
but,
my
like,
thing.
There's different angles to it. Like, the fantasy angle is super interesting.
But here's my thing, Robert. It's not even Democrat or Republican for me. It's you're a grown-ass adult. Act like one.
When it comes to the NFL, it's not about Democrat or Republican or your beliefs. When it comes to the NFL for these players, what it comes down to is look at the facts of how it will help not only your team, but you. You're not going to have to wear masks around the facility. You can leave during your bye week.
And honestly,
right?
Honestly, I respect the hell out of the NFL for being like, you know what? Screw this. We're gonna hit them where it hurts. If they really decide to put themselves in a position to screw over their team, if y'all have to forfeit, none of y'all's get any money. And I respect it. I respect it.
Yeah. Because they're just like, and I do like the aggressive stance. I do like the aggressive stance because it's like, hey, because last year, guess what? The NFL would rather not have to play a game on Wednesday afternoon. because NBC has the Rockefeller thing. They don't want to have to play a game on a Wednesday afternoon. They don't want a Thursday night game being played on a Tuesday. They don't want to deal with that crap anymore. I don't think any of us want to deal with that crap anymore. They don't want to deal with a practice squad wide receiver playing quarterback on a Sunday morning.
Like it got I think it certainly got the players' attention, because like you have some players bitching and moaning about the like NFLPA, and it's like, well, y'all are the ones who voted in the players to represent y'all in the NFLPA, and guess what? If everybody just got vaccinated, the NFL wouldn't have to be like, hey, if you get sick, tough, like none of y'all make money. Like,
yeah, I mean, last year it was understandable to.
Yeah. Well, last year there was no vaccine. Like,
right, there was nothing anybody could do about it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, yeah, you could avoid going to strip clubs or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But even then, for people that were still being responsible, some of us still got it.
Yeah.
So it's, that's one thing. But now, it's not exactly the case.
But the most important aspect is for people to respect your HIPAA. The
HIPAA thing, right?
Just respect my HIPAA, Robert. Respect my HIPAA.
So here's the thing with this HIPAA violation thing. That doesn't exist in sports. Well, whether you like it or not, it doesn't exist because because like we need to know
public health.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like it like I remember, was it Schefter? It might have been Schefter. He was in I don't know if it was a player. Something happened. Was this Schefter or Woj? I forgot. There was this one situation where like this one player or someone did a lawsuit on them, and the lawsuit didn't even move forward because they basically said like, hey, like in sports, like people need to know injury news. Like that's just part of the game. Like that's not a violation. So the suit didn't move forward. So it's the same thing with this. It's the exact same thing. It's like injury news. And by the way, also to kind of finish this off, even with and I don't know the percentage for every team, but there are a lot of people on the reserve COVID list in camp so far. There are a fair amount of players compared to what we thought there would be, and I'm just surprised by that piece. That concerns me that COVID list is still semi bigger than we would have hoped. So it does concern me a little bit. But we are in July, so we'll see what happens when we get to September. Because who really cares about preseason games?
Yeah, true.
Let's finish off our NFL stuff for the day by doing the NFC and AFC East previews. We begin with Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Washington football team. Brandon, give me your thoughts on Fitzpatrick getting the full-time job in Washington.
Well, he deserves it. There's a reason he's called Fitzmagic, because my boy's magic. And he's once again going to show all you haters what he do. Because what he do is wins games, Robert. He wins games.
I was hating.
You ask him what you do? What you do, Fitzmagic? He said, you know what I do. I win.
You win 2 games and you throw like 3 picks the next week. That's kind of what happens.
He still win. He won more than friggin' pretty boy Fitz, pretty boy Tua.
No.
Yeah, he did.
Not?
No.
He definitely won more than Tua did.
No, they with Tua they went 3, or with Fitzpatrick they went 3-3, and with Tua they went 6-3. Or no.
Is that correct? Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
4-3 with Fitzpatrick, 6-3 with Tua.
Technically, a lot of those games should have been Fitzpatrick's games because a lot of them they
subbed him in the second half.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. Either way,
2 of them.
This is Fitzpatrick is what, 38 now, on the back 9 of his career. But I think they're gonna win. Shane, do you agree that they're gonna win this division? Because right now, I mean, this division is still gonna be terrible.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think it's I do think Washington wins, but I think at least in my opinion, New York is closer than people think.
Yeah, it all depends on Daniel.
That's the thing. I really like most everything about both of these teams except the quarterback. I think. Sorry, Brandon. I do think Fitzpatrick is better than Daniel Jones. Fitzpatrick to me at this point, just because of his age, is probably like a tier 4, maybe 3 on a good day.
That's the key on a good day.
Yeah, yeah. When the Fitz magic is alive, that he bumps up to like a 2 or 3. But so I don't know. I mean, I think at this point, Daniel Jones has a higher ceiling, just because he is more athletic. He's got more of a, I guess, ability to improvise and whatnot. Whereas Fitzpatrick is definitely just much more of a game manager, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a new team, so I don't know. Anyways, although this is like his eighth new team, so nothing, nothing that new for him. But
no.
I mean, ultimately, I do think Washington wins because I do think they have a better defense, especially the front seven, and I think that they're offensively, I think they'll probably be about the same. I like some of New York's weapons a bit more, but Washington, they're still, they got like B plus guys on the offense, so still not bad. But
when you look at both the Giants, and we'll get to them next, and Washington, that's probably the significant thing is like the offensive weapons piece for them.
Yeah.
Right. And like we'll start with Washington with Curtis Samuel. I think bringing him in was huge.
Right.
I think he just fits he's a perfect complement to Terry McLaurin. He's a perfect complement to him. It's going to take some pressure off him to be the guy that catches all the balls. Like that's going to be so effective for them. Logan Thomas, of course, who developed tremendously last year. They have nice weapons, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has a nice shot to be consistent, but I'm not confident to say that he will be yet.
Yeah, and I think Antonio Gibson is a pretty underrated running back as well.
And McKissick also, they're going to expand his role a little bit too. So they're going to be a nice 1-2 punch.
Yeah. I mean, it's, Gibson, he's not a Saquon Barkley, but he still, carries his weight without a doubt.
Let's do X Factor players for this team. Brandon, who is yours?
I don't know. It's Washington. Like,
is it just Fitzpatrick for you?
I don't know.
It is for me.
Come back to me.
It is for you. I'm gonna go on the defense. I'm gonna go with a guy that we didn't really talk about in the defensive player of the year discussions, but he probably should have been, in all fairness. Cameron Curl. He actually was really good last year. His advanced analytics statistics were very good. He was so helpful on the back end with Landon Collins there as well. I think he'll be coming back this year. Like that's gonna be an interesting back line for a team that really needs like consistency in the secondary. So I think Cameron is my pick. It's an underrated one, but he had a great year again, especially advanced stat wise. As a rookie, So I think next year he's going to step it up and be a guy that I think a lot of people are going to look at defensive player of the year conversations with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess I would say Fitzpatrick for me because I think defensively, I don't really worry about them. For me, my concern is how can they produce offensively, and I know they have the pieces at receiver, running back, so on and so forth. But for me, the giant question mark is just Fitzpatrick. You know, can he step up? And I think he can. But do I think he will? We'll see. I don't know.
I think Ron Rivera. I think it's good that Ron Rivera and the staff has confidence in him.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. But whether or not that confidence could waver, could we see Heineke at some point? I don't think that will happen, but we could see it. I'm not too. I wouldn't be too surprised. Let's go to the Giants. The interesting news coming out of New York this week was Saquon. Talking about that he might not be fully healthy for week 1. Brandon, what do you think about that if he's not fully healthy the first month of the year? How does that affect the Giants?
I think they're going to do the same thing that they've done. Saquon's the only really good piece they have on offense. Because, Daniel Jones is fine.
I love Galladay and Slayton, though.
I was going to say.
Okay,
yeah.
but here's the thing. You kind of need a good quarterback to
deal with that.
To use good wide receivers. Daniel Jones is fine, right? He'll get it done. But the problem is, I don't know if it's the O-line or if it's him, but it's one of them. So
this is his last year. If he ain't this team is the best team he's had, right? You got Saquon, you got Kenny Galladay, you picked up Kadarius Toney in the draft. You have Darius Slayton, you have a speedster in John Ross, who we'll see what he does in the preseason. I think that's going to be a huge key for him. He'll be on the 53-man, but watching him on the preseason, does he still have that speed, still have that burst in a new location? That's going to be super important for him. And Sterling Shepard. Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph could be a really nice 1-2 punch as well. They picked up Kelvin Benjamin in the offseason, which is interesting. So offensively speaking, they're nice at the top, but they also have some depth. And so if you're Daniel Jones, you're looking at this and going, yeah, this is the line is not going to be that good. It wasn't expected to be good. It never has been good in his tenure so far, but the weapons are there and he needs to show out. Simply put, statistically, he needs to have a comeback year and really ball out. And it's hard to imagine him not, because if you give this roster to any other quarterback that's really, really solid, they're gonna ball out.
Yeah.
So that's the main concern here.
And for me, it's same thing as Washington. I like the team. I just have a big question mark at quarterback, and therefore he's my X factor player.
I think he's mine as well. Brandon, are you there?
Yeah,
with that too. I don't think there's another.
Well, no,
one.
I mean, I feel like my X factor would probably be I don't know, somebody on the O-line or.
Yeah, like for example, an Andrew Thomas or something like that.
Yeah.
Will Hernandez, the guys that are pretty straightforward.
Either that or Daniel Jones, because it's as we've talked about. I mean, you look at the wide receiver and tight end pieces they have. If he can pull it together, they should be able to compete. But
honestly, if they start, let's say Thanksgiving, maybe even earlier than Thanksgiving. If by week 6, we're gonna know by week 6 or 7 whether or not Daniel has it with this group or not. And if they do, they win this division and they're a playoff team. And maybe even a competitive one. If they don't, then we're going to know. We're going to know by week 6, probably. I don't even think Thanksgiving. I think week 6 or 7, we're gonna know. Like they're gonna be the one team that will know right away what they are after the first like month and a half.
And even if he is even if they are like a kind of a low seed playoff team, and he does just like just enough to get him there, but he's not like amazing, which I think is honestly probably the most likely thing that happens if all goes well. Then do they still move off of him? Because I think they do.
So like here's, I don't know, this is not best case scenario obviously, but this is like, I don't know what's the word, like this is like best case scenario is making the playoffs. The second best case scenario for them is basically Arizona Cardinals last year, because what it is like Kyler plays at a really, really good level. And in this case, Daniel plays at a really, really good level where you know that you're comfortable re-signing him. You didn't make the playoffs. And like, we know that defense is going to be bad. So he's going to have to put up points, right? It's kind of what I'm saying. Like this, it feels eerily similar to last year with Arizona because the defense is not going to be good. So
for New York,
for the Giants, I don't think they're going to be that good.
They're not bad.
I mean, they have Leonard Williams. Their linebacking core isn't that impressive. So defensively, like I don't know. I just feel like not best case scenario, but close to it, where you can keep him. Like Blake Martinez doesn't have it anymore. Like James Bradbury is pretty good. Xavier McKinney's like the back end's good, but the front, like the linebackers are not good. Defensive line is nice, but it's still developing. I could totally see this being a situation like Arizona last year. And that's not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a bad thing for Daniel Jones, though, because if that happens, they probably move off of him. But
I wouldn't if that's the case. We'll see, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. What's the next team on our docket here? Let me see.
Dallas.
Yes, Dallas. Jerry Jones. Very outspoken Jerry Jones. And
I couldn't believe what I heard from him recently.
Yes. So Dak, so let's preface this by saying that Dak is good. He's 100%. He's going to play in the preseason. We'll see him in the Hall of Fame game against the Steelers to open up preseason.
Nice.
We know he's good, but like Jerry basically said, like, I'll do anything to get a Super Bowl ring this week. And I'm sitting here like, okay, do you really think Dak's a Super Bowl quarterback? And if you really believe that, why didn't you do that why didn't you find a quarterback 2 years ago that can get you to a Super Bowl? Like there were like, don't get me wrong, there probably were trade options, right? Like you could probably go get somebody. Like that's what I kind of like. He said that this week, and I'm sitting there like with Dallas. I'm like, yeah, you do realize that 3 years ago, you had a top 10 defense with Dak not playing very well. That was maybe your best shot in the Dak era to win a Super Bowl because you had a top 10 defense. Not even that. You had a top 5 defense. Frick that. You had a top 5 defense and you still had Dak there. If you're really committed to winning a chip, that was your year. It's not going to be this year. It's not going to be anytime soon because your O-line is not what it used to be.
I think Dak is I think he's a top like 12 quarterback in the league right now. But when, like you said, the offensive line is getting worse. The defense
is also getting worse. Even though they picked up Malik, they finally picked up a safety. They finally picked up Malik Hooker, even though he's had a bunch of injuries. He's still fairly capable when he's healthy. They at least finally got a safety today. But yeah.
I mean, when he can't do it all himself. I mean, even the very best like top 5 guys need some help at quarterback. And so they got great quarterback and weapons and, the things that are flashy and shiny and make you look cool on TV, because that's Jerry Jones for you. But I don't know. I don't feel good about them. I mean, I think the only thing they got going for them is that they have a good quarterback and they aren't going to be last in the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Brandon, what are your overall thoughts on Jerry Jones's comments, and who's your X factor for this team this year?
I think Jerry Jones is starting to realize that he's probably not going to see the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl before he dies. Like, he sounds desperate as hell. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you get when you are involved in the drafting and you decide to draft the shiny thing.
The glamorous
except
thing.
this year.
Except this year.
Which was
Surprisingly.
weird. And yeah, I mean, and so I say that I guess the X factor would again have to be Dak Prescott, because I feel like Dallas has enough pieces on offense to be dangerous if Dak Prescott could have a good season. Like, he was having a decent one last year before he got hurt. And, I don't know.
Shane, what about you for X factor?
Well, I do. While Dak is important, they're not going to win games because of him. Because, I mean, even last year before he went out, they were still like, 2-3.
True.
So I think, to me, what they need is they need that defense to step up, whatever they've got. And so, to me, my X factor is Micah Parsons, which
The rookie.
Yeah, the rookie, which I don't think I've ever picked a rookie for X Factor player. But now I am. Deal with it. And
it's not a bad pick. It's actually a really good pick.
Because, middle linebacker, that's your quarterback on defense. I mean, that's your leader, guy in the middle who dictates the flow. And, I think going forward, they really need to build something strong there. And I think it starts with him. I think he's definitely a capable player, and considering he's in the heart of that defense, it just makes sense to me.
For me, it's Zeke. Horrible year last year. Terrible. I'm worried about him not only in real life but for a fantasy perspective, just because that line is so bad, and a huge reason why. Like, he's a great back, but huge reason why he is that O-line, and that O-line is not really built to support him nowadays.
Yeah, they got Tyron Smith and Zach Martin, basically.
Who are all old.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So, like, it's, I mean, it's, for me, like, Zeke runs that offense, and I worry that he signed that contract, and he could be one of those guys that you look back on and say, oh, he signed that contract and then he turned into a mid-level inconsistent back, because that's what we saw last year. And I'm kind of worried we're going to see that again this year.
He's in better shape now, at least.
Yeah. Because he went to Cabo again, probably. But I don't know. I again, like, my biggest thing is I look at this team and I think about Jerry Jones and I'm like, oh my God, like, you had, like, if you had any shot at a Super Bowl, it was like Dak's first year and then like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And like that's because, like, the thing with this team is they need a top 10 defense to be remotely competitive, not only in the division, which I guess whatever with the division, but in the playoffs. And I don't think they have it here. Lastly, for this division is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, we've talked about the Eagles and their fall from grace here for months now. But expectations for Jalen Hurts. Shane, go ahead. Do you think your guy Joe Flacco is going to get some time here this season or no? This is a conversation that we've had before.
Well, I mean, if they have half a brain, they will start Joe Flacco, the GOAT. No, sorry, I haven't done that bit in a while. No, I think at this point, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts at all. I don't think he's good. But I think he is better than Joe Flacco because Flacco is older and very one-dimensional. Whereas Jalen, at least you have, run game and you can kind of improvise and stuff. So that's cool. But this team just has so many other problems besides quarterback. I think they have struggled to hit on receiver in the draft. Maybe that'll change now with Devontae Smith. We will see. I'll list this team's positives in a bit, but keep going. Yeah. And the offensive line, kind of like Dallas, is getting old.
It is old.
Well, yes.
Forget it. It is old.
But it's like one of their biggest strengths, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, I don't. And I mean, they really only have two guys on defense that I really like. I don't know. To me, this team finishes bottom 3 in the entire league next year, if I'm being real with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think that they made a terrible hire for head coach.
Yeah, Sirianni right now, I think we're lukewarm with him right now.
Yeah,
at least I am.
Yeah, lukewarm is generous.
At least I'm lukewarm with him. I gotta watch.
Yeah, no, I mean you gotta give him a chance, obviously, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not feeling good about Philly at all. Yeah, and I feel sorry for Philly.
So positive. I think Hurts is a positive. I said it all last year. Yeah, was he up and down? Sure. I mean, he didn't really get a lot of time. If they're gonna win any substantial amount of games, Hurts and Devontae are gonna have to ball out, and there are going to be games next year where they do, but there also are going to be games where they don't. I know it's not the best take in the world, but that's factual.
Yeah,
I just think that Hurts is going to have to do everything, and I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing. I think it can help his development.
I don't think that's but I don't think that's. I mean, it might benefit him long term, but this year, I don't think he's ready for that.
It's not winning football.
Yeah,
but at least if they're willing to, which right now they're not 100% sold on, which I think is ridiculous. If they are willing to, if I'm Sirianni, I'm like, he's our starter. I don't care what anyone says. He's going to play all, 8. How many weeks we got now? Well, 17 for the teams individually.
Yeah.
He's going to play all 17. And I don't care if he struggles. Let's see what we have in him. And because last year we did see it, but we didn't see it enough. Is always been my claim with him.
No, it was very just kind of random.
Yeah. So yeah. I think Hurts is a positive. I think Devontae is a positive. I honestly think this receiving core is more of a positive than you would think. Just because they have the ability to be effective, they just do. Other than Devontae, they don't do a great job of getting out of routes and finding holes. So you're gonna see Hurts run a lot. That running back joke that we say for Lamar, I think we could say for Hurts next year. I don't think that'd be surprising. The running backs are good. Sanders and Scott are nice. Tight end, the fact that Ertz is still there, I'm not surprised that his market was fairly empty. It's not like teams care about tight end that much, but the fact that he's still going to be there, it's not my favorite thing in the world. Elijah said is old. Defensively, Brandon Grant, like this defense is fine. Ryan Kerrigan's a nice ad. Javon, like they have a good defensive line. Okay, linebacking core picking up Kerrigan. Corners are pretty solid. They got Kavon Wallace, developmental guy. They're fine defensively is the best thing I could say. But I think the X Factor player is definitely Jalen here for sure. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Philly?
I think Philly is going to have a real hard time this year. I think Philly doesn't have much hope. Yeah, that's what I think about Philly.
Yeah. Do you all feel like Hurts is your X Factor this year?
Yeah,
They
probably.
don't get an X Factor because there's no hope.
Yeah,
no.
Sorry.
Yeah, probably.
I feel so bad, but I think as a show, we're the most, maybe even depressed is the right word. We're the most depressed about Philly because like there are teams that are going to be worse than them. But the reality is for that fan base and what they've been through over the last years, winning a ring, it's just like to fall that far.
That's the thing. They just fell so far, so fast.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's never happened before.
Never
happened before.
But oh
well. Brandon,
by the way, when I sound like I'm depressed or like when I sound like I don't care when I'm sitting here like it's because I'm genuinely sad. I'm not. It's not because I'm like let's just get it over with.
No, they are. It's sad. Like I think like honestly, they are the NFL image of what it's like for a team to be depressed. that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of Philly. Detroit is more fun. They're more playful. They can be playful because of their coach. Houston, they're basically an expansion team. That's a little bit different. But yeah. Let's go on to better days with the Buffalo Bills. Brandon, how close do you think this team can get to going back to the AFC title game?
Well, I mean, they're keeping a fair amount of their team. I've said this from the beginning, right? I need to see another year from Josh Allen like I saw last year. If that happens, I think the Bills are going to be competitive for a while. If not, I think the Bills could be in trouble. Because Josh Allen could either be a top-tier quarterback or he could be a quarterback that's off and on. And if he's off and on, then they're going to have to figure it out.
Shane, are you like me that I'm not even worried about it? Like, I know he's going to be good, and I don't have to worry about it.
I trust him personally. I mean, I totally understand the concern. I'm definitely somebody that, like you, Brannan, I like to really see a lot of a player. But the thing is, like, where I am with Allen is that how do I make this not sound pretentious? I kind of saw the building blocks with him like the year before. And because you remember, I took him like, I think 15th in the quarterback draft, and you all thought I was crazy. And I probably was at the time. But I was like, No, I think this guy is legit. He just needs to um, improve his accuracy, and he did. So now, to me, he kind of has all the tangibles, and it wasn't like he just did it sometimes and had the good accuracy sometimes, but he had it every game for 16 games.
He went 10th, Shane. He went 10th in our draft to you in the third round. 10th. He went 10th, and he finished as a top 3 guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and that's, I assume he's not going to lose that considering how long he was able to stay consistent like that all year. Of course, he's obviously going to have off days here and there, but I feel pretty good about it. I think in the AFC, Kansas City is the favorite, but honestly, I'm 50-50 between these two. I'm split. I think Buffalo has a better defense, and I think no, they don't have as good of an offense as Kansas City, but they can. That offense can still be explosive, and be on par with them, I guess. At least I think. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them in the Super Bowl.
Buffalo Daily News. Oh, sorry, Shane. Go ahead. My bad.
No, I was done.
Buffalo Daily News talked about Cole Beasley potentially being a cut candidate. It wouldn't surprise me with everything that he said, but also you look at that receiving core. I don't think they really need him. Like Isaiah McKenzie can easily jump into that third spot if they need him. Gabe Davis could be in for a bigger role this year, but Emmanuel Sanders primarily can completely easily fit that role for them. Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised. Emmanuel's just a guy that's always a good signing, no matter where he's at, because he can fit that wide receiver 3 role. Gabe Davis is in for a breakout year, I think. The one issue I have with Buffalo, at least offensively speaking, defensive, they're fine. Defensive, they're good. They need to get back. Like last year, we've seen in past years how good Buffalo's defense could be. Like last year, they were a little up and down.
I think a lot of that was due to COVID opt-outs.
I think so too. But I if they get back to a top 5 defense, they're already a Super Bowl contender right now, but they'll be even more so. But the main concern for me with them is what they're doing at running back. They kind of have to pick a number 1 guy, and Singletary was not very consistent. Moss was 100% more consistent. I think he had more snaps by the end of the year, or at least towards December and January. So my one concern is that running back room and what they're going to do there. They're going to keep both of them, but how are they going to deal with that snap share is going to be pretty critical to give Josh Allen a bit of a break. So that's my number 1 concern with that team right now, which all things considered is not that major of a concern because it worked last year. Yeah. So Brandon, for you to finish off, Josh Allen would be your X factor for you.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively speaking. And then Shane, who is it for you?
Dang, who is it for me? I don't know. As much as I would say Josh Allen, I feel like he'll be fine. So I don't really worry about him in terms of his importance to the team. I'm gonna come back to me. Who's yours, Robert?
It's gonna be Gabe Davis. I think he has a chance to break out. I really do. I think he has a chance to break out. There were moments, particularly towards, I guess, middle, week 12, 13, 14, kind of like that range, where he also got a little bit of fantasy buzz as well. He's someone I can totally see breaking out and being like that quintessential number 2 behind Diggs. And if that happens, they can get to a next level offensively. I can totally see that happening.
I think this might be a bit out of the box, but I'd say Tremaine Edmonds.
I like that.
Because I think when you look at that defense, I think they have a pretty good pass defense with guys like Micah Parsons and
Tre'Davious White, Levi
Tre'Davious
Wallace
White, yeah.
as well, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. They're pretty good in the back end.
So, I don't worry too much about that, but where they did struggle is definitely in the run game, and that starts with your front seven. And, I think you got to get a guy like Edmund to come
Edmonds to come out.
I was like, who did I say?
We're deep in the night, folks. We're almost done.
To balance it out and be a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Get that run defense going.
Miami, Brannan, what are your overall thoughts on Miami? You were so impressed with them last year. Do you expect a leap from Tua, or are you a little bit concerned with that?
No. I do not at least Tua.
Mm-hmm. Does that concern you in terms of how they'll grow next year? Do you think they have a shot to grow if Tua doesn't grow himself?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too hard on Tua.
I don't know if you are. I really don't know if you are. And
I think he has a low ceiling is the problem.
And I look like I even think that they feel that way. That's kind of what freaks me out is like they picked up Jacoby Brissett. It's like they didn't pick him up for no reason.
Right.
And so like
he's a capable starter.
He's a capable starter.
Not necessarily as like a permanent solution, but just for a couple games here and there,
So it does freak me out a little bit. I don't think that I like Tua. I think last year having Fitz there wasn't good for him. I don't know if having Brissett there is good for him in all fairness, but he's the starter. Let's just see some development. Preseason might give us a better idea of where he's at in his development, but
I mean, I want to give him a chance, obviously,
Yeah,
he's definitely my X factor though, because I think they have the pieces everywhere else in the field.
They picked up Jalen Waddle too.
I just don't know about him, about Tua.
Yeah. Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki's pretty solid. Yeah, their O-line is something to be worried about, I think, but defensively they're fine. Like
especially when they're
capable,
super athletic, and is injury prone.
So I like Miami, but if Tua goes up a step, they can make some noise in the playoffs because the AFC is way too top heavy for them not to make some noise. So I think for all of us, it would be Tua for the.
If he can even be like a top, I mean, not even just like a, tier 3 guy. I think they'll be competitive.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think for all of us, it's Tua, and then we finish out with the New York Jets. Developmental thing with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has been impressive in camp. From rookie mini camp to now, he has been really impressive. And that's something for the first time in a few years, a good thing to take away from the Jets. Like the Jets haven't made news in camp in a while. The fact that this news today, like this news from how he's been at camp, like that's a positive for them. And we'll have to see how it goes in the regular season. I mean, it's just camp, but the fact that we're actually getting good reports out of Jets camp is something to at least be happy about if you're a Jets fan.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Jets, while they might have good forward momentum from this, I still am not, I'm not expecting much from them. Let's put it that way.
Are they going to be good? No, they're not at a spot where they can be good.
Way too much new stuff,
Yeah, they're not going to be good. No, but even with that, the fact that he's just good with camp, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I assume for both of you guys have Zach Wilson.
I have Elijah Vera Tucker, actually.
I like that. Yeah, a rookie guy.
I think you really need to. You need him to come into that O-line and kind of complete it, so that you can give Zach Wilson time.
And that's exactly what they're doing. So right. I mean, that's a positive.
So that to let him make plays, since he is a rookie and they have a rookie head coach, things are going to be rusty. So just you can at least establish a semi-good pocket. I think that helps you greatly.
This team is in a great position to develop young rookies, not only Zach Wilson, but my X factor, Michael Carter, their 3rd round pick.
Okay, yeah.
I think that he should start immediately. I think he will start at some point. I don't think Tevin Coleman's gonna have that job for long. It's kind of the Denver situation where I feel like giving a rookie running back a shot is a good idea. And so I feel like Michael Carter has a chance to be a really nice player. Not right away, but by midseason, I think, at least for volume's sake, he could be a guy that can be very capable. He could kind of be like the Myles Gaskin type this year for the Jets, potentially. Yeah. He's the one rookie that I feel that way about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, especially when that running back room isn't that impressive. Finally, I unfortunately can't pull up the picture because I do have some issues with Zoom with the share screen tonight. But any thoughts on the Cleveland Indians becoming the Cleveland Guardians? Does it even do these name changes over the last few years even matter that much? It's fairly new to us as sports fans in our lifetimes, but I mean it's happened before.
Yeah,
I actually kind of like it. I know a lot of people don't, but I'm okay with it. It's not that bad to see teams change names.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's I guess the problem that I always had with the name like the Indians is that I mean, the obvious thing is that it's inaccurate because I mean, even though Native American people are called Indian on paper, they're obviously not Indian. They're American. So I mean, I don't really have an issue with them saying, we should probably change our name to something that's not so, outdated, I guess. And just, doing something like the Guardians, which is, I mean, yeah, it's kind of generic, but it works. At least, yeah.
I feel like we're going to say the same thing to whatever the Washington football team changes their name into going into 2022. It's probably just going to be something super generic. And then we're just going to be
like a fan poll,
Yeah.
That was cool. But yeah.
That's so that's how I I feel about the name overall. It's fine. We'll get used to it. It's basically the same color scheme too, so there's not too much change there.
Now I wonder though if this is going to happen with the Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds,
potentially.
Other,
I think Blackhawks.
How do you feel, Brandon, about it overall? I think
with teams I think it's the right thing to do. I think like apparently a lot of a fair amount of people who are part of these actual tribes, when they're asked about it, kind of just are like whatever. Like they're
Yeah,
like
they don't really care.
they don't really care.
By it.
But I think it's a situation where it's like, because there's been enough issues of like fans being like using it like as like
appropriation.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think teams just kind of want to get rid of the issue entirely.
Yeah, get rid of the conversation.
Because like if you think about it, you have because like the thing with the Indians was they got rid of their mascot 2 years ago,
and they got rid of the actual Indians logo, just the C for like the last 2 years.
They got rid of Chief Wahoo.
Yeah,
which I think was actually worse than the name, but yeah.
How do you feel, Brandon? Do you feel like it's generic?
I mean, like generic in what way?
It just feels kind of flat to me. Like it's not a good thing. It's not necessarily a good name or a bad name. Like I'll get used to it, but it still feels very flat.
So generic.
Oh, like the new name?
Yeah, like Guardians. Like it just feels flat.
It's pretty generic, but at the same time, as I saw a tweet today, I saw it's a name feels weird until it's been used for a couple years.
Right.
And
it's
I don't know.
To me, it feels like they got in a meeting and said, "Okay, gotta change the name. What's it gonna be?" Then then everyone's silent. And then some guy or gal says like, "How about the Guardians?" Sure. Okay, great. That was
it's like
that's like what LeBron said on the tweet about the Washington football team. It's like everyone was hyped up, and it's like everyone's like they went into a boardroom and they came up with the Washington football team.
Well, I think LeBron said something like a bunch of white guys went to a boardroom, and that's what they came up with. I was like, damn, LeBron. Okay. I mean, facts, but damn.
Does the Washington football team, like I know we're only gonna have it for one more year, but is it comfortable for you guys now?
I like the name. I love the name, honestly. I want them to keep it just to kind of be like, fine, if you don't want Washington Redskins, we'll do the Washington football team. Actually, no. You know what I want them to become? I want them to become the Washington Chinchillas. Just because it came to my mind just randomly, and I was like, you know what? That would be hilarious.
What would be the logo?
It would be a chinchilla. The least threatening creature on planet Earth. Because to be honest, the Washington is the least threatening football team on planet Earth.
Shane, have you gotten comfortable with the Washington football team name after one season?
I mean, yeah, but I don't like it.
Why do you not like it?
Because it's not a name. It's
it is.
Washington. No, football team. It's every Seattle football team, LA football team. That's
no. You know what they should do? They should be Washington FC.
I mean, that's basically what the bit like people always make the claim like it's kind of like soccer with like Chelsea FC. Yeah. Basically what it is. But it's like instead of football club, it's football team. It's FT.
Just be Washington FT.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what the WFT stands for. But it's like
I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, you're lame.
Warriors are apparently have the consideration for them. I don't know. It's been a
mix. Warriors come out and play.
I've heard Monarchs, Capitals,
like the Butterfly.
Is the Capitals their? Is that their?
That's their hockey team.
Okay, so Senators. That was the other name.
Senators. So we're gonna have the Ottawa Senators, which is the capital of Canada, have a hockey team, and then in America, our biggest sport, football, is gonna have the Senators in our capital. Yeah. Really? Like, okay.
But
Let me pull up names, ideas. Like what are people
There
saying?
was like 10 of them. I can't remember what they all were, but there was like one that was animal related.
Yeah,
bro. I don't know what.
Look, I'm just saying the Chinchillas is a great name.
Chinchillas. Yeah, just I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's just gonna be playing either way. But that's it for the night. We'll see. We'll probably get uploaded at some point early next week. Both of our episodes, but definitely a fun bit of content. I'm out of town. Jeez, for the next like 2 weeks, technically for the show. So you guys hold down the fort.
Going to Sacktown, right?
I'm going to Sacramento. Yeah, I will. I'm actually going to the California Classic, watching some G League, or not G. Well, watching G League players, rookies and sophomores, but like summer league ball. So I'm actually going to have a summer league report when I come back, which is something that we've covered summer league in the past for some like the bigger teams, but we don't normally talk about the teams at the top of the heap, like the Lakers, like like the Heat or whatever. The Kings have the 9th pick in the draft, and if the Warriors use their pick in the draft, I said, the 7th pick and the 14th pick, I'll get a chance to watch those guys live in person. So I definitely will come back with a report about those guys. So that should be super fun to actually have like a summer league segment again, and a lot of other stuff, of course, with the Olympics and all that. But that's going to be kind of our main thing over the next month. And then we're head right into football. So good stuff. All right. We will see you all later on. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, since we are recording this on Friday. And we will see you all next time.